Hello and welcome to Change the Game Plan, 10 top digital marketing actions to beat COVID-19. Some of you listening may have already joined us for the first instalment of our coronavirus series, which covered the 12 steps to ensure your business beats coronavirus. If you want to catch up on that, then get in touch. Welcome to those new joining us today. My name is Stacey Wilson. I'm Client Services Director at Infinity Nation. And joining me is our founder and CEO, Al Keck. So just to recap on the last webinar, this covered 3 core areas. And we talked about different tips on how to take action using data to inform your decisions in each of these 3 core units. We discussed business strategies, digital tactics in order to pivot and change the way that your business is potentially operating. But the most important one that we discussed was how to communicate with your customer during these testing times and ensure that your business continues to operate.
In today's webinar, we're going to have 3 key elements. I think the most shocking reality for me is that the speed in which this pandemic has hit all of our businesses. If we reflect back to 2008, that scenario unfolded over a number of months, whereas we are currently in a scenario that's happened in days and changes at speed on a daily basis. For me, we need to react at the same speed in which this virus is attacking. And that, for me, is key. We haven't got time to wait. We have to act now. We have to change our communication. We have to update our messaging and keep our customers buying and keeping their trust. So really, today's webinar, we're going to take you through 10 digital marketing tips and practices to adopt during this period.
So our first tip today is monitor your market. So as Al just touched on, the exponential acceleration of this virus has essentially just ripped up the book. So what we thought we knew about our channels, our market, is no longer enough. It's more important than ever now to monetize consumer behavior with their ever-changing need states. So easy to say, how do we actually do it? Well, one free tool that you've all got accessibility to, and we'll cover in the follow-up pack today, is Google Trends. This is absolute gold dust for marketers. It doesn't just report on what has happened, but it also gives cues as to what might be happening in your market. So this is a very obvious query for online delivery, and you can see that from week commencing the 13th of March, those queries increased tenfold plus overnight. At the bottom of this slide, you can also see some related topics and also related queries. Again, knowing what we know now, this looks quite obvious, but at the time, did anyone foresee that toilet paper as a topic would be one of the most searched for things on the internet at this period? In addition, platforms like Amazon Prime Pantry, people trying to find alternative methods to get their product. You can see how agile and how the winners have really won this war so far, just by having a product and that platform available for consumers to use. A point on this is, with the changing landscape and changing consumer behavior, your competitors aren't really who you thought they were previously. So Ann Summers pasta, again, no one would have thought that this would have been a breakout term. Certainly, probably them themselves wouldn't even have thought that it would be coming. But over this period, the consumer will try and find alternative methods to get the product that they want. So if you have it and you have availability and you have stock, if you're there talking about it, then you can definitely get those units away during this time.
I think we want to make it also clear that it's not all doom and gloom. I think looking to China, whilst it has been a very dark period, there does seem to be light at the end of the tunnel. They're not seeing new cases. They're no longer in lockdown. I believe the CEO of Mercedes-Benz said that their dealerships are now opening. Production of their cars are now happening again in China, and car sales are starting. I think we've seen other businesses. Nike have said revenues are up. So it does appear that this period is for about 90 to 100 days. Now, we don't know that definitively. We're just looking to the rest of the world to see what's happening. But I think for us, it's as we covered in the last webinar, is really what do we do for the next 12 weeks, 14 weeks? How do we trade? How do we make sure our products are needed? How do we change our messaging? If we haven't updated our messaging yet, we must do.
So our third tip today is prepare to pivot. Now, use this example again. Ann Summers definitely can't take credit for having an adoptive strategy there, ready to pull that lever when this happened. But all of the headlines that you might have seen and memes going around on social media, they're all covering the fact that Ann Summers sold more of its pasta in the last 7 days than it had in the entire last 365-day period. What they've done very well is reacted to it and embraced it to create longevity of this build-up. So they've teamed up with celebrity chef, an Italian chef, Aldo Zilli. He's on board with them, creating pasta sauce recipes, continuing the conversation with their audience. And you can see at the bottom right of this slide, one of their tweets talking about, they've still got it in stock, getting creative in the kitchen. They're really trying to embrace this stay at home culture that we're now living in and making the most of it by getting a topic, getting something trending and continuing that conversation. So join in, embrace it. Penis Pasta Challenge for the win.
I think you're right. I think what's really good there is that they embraced it. They saw the trends. They saw the data. The supermarkets had sold out of pasta. Customers thought outside of the box. They would have done keyword research or searching in Google, looking for pasta, and Ann Summers' product was coming up. I think, as you say, Stacey, what's brilliant about this is they've gone and reached out to someone like Aldo Zilli and made light of it and actually gained a new audience and built new audience and built potentially a new customer base off the back of this challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And other examples of this are the obvious ones: Dyson, G-Tech, building ventilators from scratch, no blueprints to look at there. But it's all around retraining and adapting your assets, and whether you've got a workforce and all this technology behind you or not, it's looking to those cues, analyzing your data. What is your website data telling you, and how can you build a story around it?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, we're not in Dyson. We don't have, perhaps their workforce and their firepower. But, I think it's just, as you say, embracing the new challenge and then applying yourselves. I know all the Formula One teams are desperate to want to be racing, but they can't. So they've come up with something, I think it's called Project Pit Lane, where all the Formula One teams are putting all of their highly experienced and highly talented engineers and designers into how they can make more ventilators to help fight this pandemic. So it's, I think we're going to cover it later on, but I think this collaboration between different parties and this sense of community, I think, is a new way of operating moving forward.
Definitely.
Okay, so one of the things we've said is break down the strategy, and we just talked about we can't all be Dyson. But I think one of the key things here is really, look, there isn't a golden ticket out of this, and we covered this on the last webinar as well, but it's really, how are you in your business all sitting down and going, what could we do differently? how can we sell our product? How can we deploy our team? What can we sell? What could sell more? And so for us, we always believe in it. We always use it in our businesses. What are the small changes? What are the 10, 15, 20 little pivots that we could do to make a change in our business right now? Who could we go and collaborate with? What could we do differently? I think it's really key. The data's key to this, to be able to give you informed decisions. But I think sit down, challenge yourselves, brainstorm ideas, work them through, challenge us, see if we think they're a good idea or not. We're here to help people. So break it down. I think there's that great adage, isn't it? Fear is false evidence appearing real. And I think it's just let's dampen that fear and let's really focus on what we can do and how we can make it.
Yeah, and I think you've made a good point there. I think multiple brains are better than one. So you've got a team around you. You might be working with partners, digital partners, web agencies. There are a lot of skill sets that are surrounding you right now to call on. Call on people for their help, and get a number of ideas together and build a plan and then see what sticks.
Yeah. I also think virtual could be the new norm. We all turned our businesses to working online and working remotely really quickly. So how else can we embrace technology in our business? What else can be done? I'm seeing people offering to get, big e-commerce software providers offering to help get websites up in 48 hours. So don't believe I can't do it because I can't sell online. There are people that are out there right now offering to help you get e-commerce websites up and running and getting product selling. As we talked about in the first webinar, a microbrewery that turned their business around quickly and said, how are we going to start selling this product direct? And have been making a fantastic job of it.
Yeah. So our fifth tip then is planning. So building on from the last point, how do you actually build this plan then and get it working? So we do this for our own business, and we work with a number of partners and other businesses that operate on sort of 90 to 100-day cycles. Right now, we're looking at the next 12 weeks of this being our normal. So let's embrace it and let's rip up the old plan and let's have a look at how we can change it. So a simple way is, we know everything that we knew has changed, and we know that everything that we're learning now is probably going to change by the time that we get to day 90 or day 120 or whatever of our strategy. But by having a plan in place, we're more ready than we are just sitting here panicking about it. So if you break down the different 30-day cycles and then just simplistically look at those against the product that you've got now, or you might have in the future, the channels that you're operating now, you've got there, what platforms and stuff you've got in place, which partners have you got that have got opportunity to, get these channels live for you. But most importantly, it's your message and how that needs to evolve and change during these different planning cycles. So within each of these, big categories, you might have it, within the 30 days, you're going to focus on the products that you've got in stock now. How can you shift that product? How can you make it appealing and attractive for a stay-at-home workforce, a stay-at-home teaching workforce currently? Are there any things that you didn't think would have that use when you launched them onto your site, but you can adapt the messaging to make it relevant for right now? The channels that you might deploy to get that out there, potentially paid search, paid social, because they're agile channels in themselves. Moving on to 60 days. And really, you should be doing this now, and you should have been doing it 30 and 100 days ago. But who are your priority customers, and what products might you be able to offer them? Which channels can you go out to them? You've probably got their data, they're on your email list. So how can you talk to them? The message might be just plain and simple. Give them something, surprise them, delight them. talk back to that Ann Summers example there. They built that sense of community. They got people talking. They got people sharing recipes. People have got more time on their hands at the moment. Let them, be your advocates for your brand and talk about you in a positive way. Looking forward to 90 days, what you're producing or what you've got in your warehouse, you might then be looking to create new lines. What worked well for you before this all started might now not be your hero product. You might need to redefine the way that you market and the way you operate your business based on that ever-changing consumer behavior. The channel that you can use to get that message out there would be social, because you're creating a new normal for your brand. You're building new audiences. You're wanting to build discussions with different customer segments. So the message there is about being ahead of the curve, that you're emerging, you're marketing yourself, you're planning ahead as a business, you're ready for potentially more change. And then within each of these headings, you would have a number of tactics, obviously, and a number of actions and post-it notes and to-do lists. But as a framework, we hope this will be helpful for you just to, start with a clean sheet of paper.
Yeah, I think the other thing is if we're not correct on the 90 days and looking to China is being flexible and nimble in this plan. And by having the data and monitoring and measuring this more accurately and more closely, at 45 days, if it looks like it's going to be longer, then you can just work on these levers. You can work on this plan. You can look at the projects and the products that are selling. I think we have to go into a different mode of operation.
Absolutely.
And I think, coupled with that, I think as the slide says, do data analysis now. I think there's so much that lies within the data that we have to get, under the skin of. We need to get our finger on that pulse. We need to understand what is selling, where traffic is coming from, what terms are they looking for, what, going back to one of the first slides Stacey was covering, what are the trends? Are we overlaying the trends that are happening in the search engines with the keywords that we're pushing for versus the products that we have? How are we mapping and meeting the demands that are out there with the products that we have or we can get hold of to sell? I think, it's absolutely key. I touched on it slightly earlier, just like if we haven't changed our messaging, that we were using our ad copy, our on-site messaging, if we haven't changed that, and it's the same as we were using 3 weeks or a month ago, it's not going to fare well. The world has changed. We need to be compassionate, more empathetic about this situation. We need to show that in our ad copy. We need to show that in our messaging. We need to show that in our social media. We have to act now, and we need to do it with data insight on our side to really help us understand how these changes are benefiting the business, but also how it's helping you drive revenues and profits. As Stacey was just saying, with the channels and the levers to push, SEO is always the oil tanker that takes forever, but it carries a lot of weight, so it's hard to move it. So we can't afford not to ignore it, but really where we can put time and effort is into paid search, paid social, but also email. Email is key for me. Repeat business is equals profit. We spent the time and effort acquiring the new customers. How are we getting that customer to come back again and again? Why are they going to come back? How can we help them right now? Again, with data on our side, we understand what the customers bought, when they bought it, what other customers look like them, and what they also went on to buy. For me, it's absolutely key.
And then our 7th tip, so plug your leaky bucket, and by this we mean your website, because right now, the key buzzwords that go around the industry, so UX and CRO, so customer usability and also conversion rate optimization. Putting a strategy in place for this is key right now. If it's been on your to-do list for ages, likenesses, you've already got the data built up in some way, shape, or form. You can't afford to lose one customer due to your website speed being slow or a button not working and a main call to action not being above the fold. We need to take action now and make our websites more accessible and easier to get that customer through from first visit through into the basket without any issues. So what are your current barriers to buy? If they were previously price led, how can you get around that with messaging? Improve the signposting and access to essential information. One of the absolute golden tickets that you've got, if you've enabled it within your Google Analytics setup, is site search. That will tell you the exact keywords that somebody is putting into that search bar and then, going through and trying to find an answer for, because they cannot find it simply from the key navigation point that they've come into your site through. So if you can then identify that, that will give you cues. So for example, information that you've got buried in your FAQs page at the moment might be around delivery lead times, etc. Right now, that's probably one of the first things that a consumer wants to understand before they will even entertain adding stuff to a basket, because they don't want to be wasting their time getting to a checkout that then tells them that it's a 15-day order cycle on something that they need in 3 days' time. So that would be one tip, would be, if you've got it, analyze that site search data now and find out what people are coming to the website that they can't obviously find. Fix that, create landing pages, signpost it from the homepage, test things. And then there's a number of free tools that you can be looking to implement on your website if you don't have them already. I think the key is, if you've got the data, get the right people to analyze it now, outsource it, get projects done on it, get that insight into your business and start acting on it. Because there's nothing worse than having a tool that's churning out data, but no one's looking at it and using the insights to make positive change. You can look at the likes of, Hotjar, they do free trials. You can use Visual Website Optimizer. That's another good tool where you can build a series of experiments. I think the key is, don't just test once, change one thing and then leave it. How can you then improve the next page in the user journey and then the page after that? So there's also another site, which we use quite often in partnership with some clients, that does quick testing videos for clients. If you can identify how people are failing to use your site effectively with real data and get that in a decent sample size, you can go out and make changes, launch new web pages, reskin your homepage, but then use your key customer segments. So back to Al's point in the last slide, analyze that data. The people that you've spent money acquiring, use them, because they will be happy to help. Customers do like being used as an elite sample that are being asked for their feedback on a new version of a page. So it just helps to continue your brand relationship, but don't let those clicks leave your site without buying.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I think here we're saying, rip up your channel plan. You respond to the change in customer behaviour. I think we've covered it. I think we need to be compassionate in this current time. We need to give inspiration. People are isolated; they're locked at home. How can we inspire them to use the products that we can sell? How do we build loyalty during this time? I always have one key thing that I'm always looking at or challenging my team and the customers that we work with, and that's a sort of a golden rule I've always had, is show me that you know me. As in, if I'm the customer, I just don't want to be blasted to just the same offer. I'm just going to use the wine one because it's easy for everyone to understand. But if I drink red wine, but someone emails me a white wine offer, they obviously don't. It gives me the impression they don't care about me. They don't know me. They don't know what I like. Whereas we have the data at our disposal. We know what that customer has bought from us before or multiple times before. So use that to our advantage and build that loyalty. And I think we've put here as well, and this is a great opportunity to do what we would call surprise and delight. And, just put a little gift in their package, and we're not saying it has to be something massive. We know businesses that send little packets of Haribos, but it has to be on brand. It has to be on you fit with your ethos. But just little things right now in these challenging times, I think, will really make a difference to people, difference to their spirits, and build that loyalty. I know myself. I had a challenge recently last week. And a brand has pulled it absolutely out of the bag for me versus all their competitors. I will know I'll be using them moving forward because they've just gone above and beyond for me.
And with that, I think we're talking about how to engage and talk to your customers. Maybe you need to find new angles for products that you already were selling and find a new use for getting them into your customer base, a new way to talk about them. So you can create your own content here. And, I think we've used an example recently, people getting ready for their holidays and potentially buying, suitcases and the likes for their children to go to the airport. Everyone's really excited. Obviously, the holiday's not happening. How can you engage that audience at the moment and find a use for that product? Like, I've seen a lot of stuff on Pinterest and other home sites around alternative uses for these items. So while they're in your home, make the most of them, make it look good, and make it functional and usable for the children in this period when they're not using it for its first use, which was to take it abroad on holiday. So you don't also have to reinvent the wheel. There might be blog content that you had on your website a year ago, and it's seasonal and it's topical and it's relevant to push it out again. You don't need to spend hours rewriting content. Just, redo the keyword research. Just make sure that it's still relevant for the way that people are searching for your product today, and push it out there to your audience again. Just make sure that you've looked over it from an SEO point of view to make sure that it's going to be driving value for your website.
I think the other one is what I'd say, make virtual visible. We're all remote at the moment. We're all in lockdown, but we all have technology to our hand. So can we send the customer a little video? Can we make it like they're talking to someone? We'll have to think differently. We've always, we've always sent them a thank you for your order email, but is it possible to send them a little video instead? I don't know. I mean, it's just testing and trying these different things, but also looking at different ways to communicate rather than just always doing the same old thing.
Yeah, I've seen some great examples of that actually with charities. When someone's donated, or they might have signed up to do a challenge event where they're obviously going to be putting a donation towards that charity, and using Vine or other platforms that just do short video bursts, just having people that were just clapping and holding up cards, just saying like thank you with the person's Twitter handle for your donation, and then tagging them with that video on the post. It kept that conversation going, and it just made people feel that their actions were worthwhile, not only in a monetary sense for that brand, but that someone cared enough to give back a little.
Yeah, and I know we talked about pivoting your business, but it doesn't just have to be your business. It can be, how do we pivot your team? So if buyers can't buy right now, or customer service people can't do as much as they could do before, or warehouse people, because of social distancing, can't do as much. How can we use the assets at our disposal to help the consumer and help the business give a different offering in this period?
So leading on from that, our 9th tip is virtual is the new normal. So we're all slowly getting used to it. Lots of video chats, calls and conference calls going on. We've all heard the radio ads from the banks and insurers who are inundated with calls at this time, and people, worried about investments and are their policies going to pay out for their holiday, etc. So all of these entities are pushing their consumers actively via their marketing to their apps and to their websites. So is there an opportunity for you to get something like live chat up and running on your website? Would that ease the burden on your customer services team? If you've got in-house development teams, potentially if they've got some spare capacity, could they work on developing a simple chatbot that would work with some of your social channels that would just deal with the most common queries, which right now are typically going to be around delivery times, or is your company offering contactless deliveries? So put like we said, like put your workforce to work, but be smart and identify and see if you can, that ripple effect, just change something small in your business that will lead out positively to your customer base, but will also ease up the back office at this time when clearly it's all hands to the pump in some industries.
I think we've got here accept offers as help, and we've covered the great stories of collaboration. You know, I think everyone wants to help everyone in this situation. So as we put here, a problem shared is a problem halved. I've been talking to a paddleboard business in the last couple of days. No one can go paddleboarding, but they've been talking about doing a competition to see who could pump up their paddleboard the fastest, and that will win a prize. And so that's still utilising their product. It's motivating their customer base to get their product out, to have some fun, to break the potential boredom of isolation, but also, as we talked about earlier, a great ripple effect that's going to happen in social media that goes out and about as people challenge each other. Other things we talked about is, could we use that product as a yoga mat, or could we use, could there be other ways of utilising the product that their customers already have? They've teamed up with people that sell their product to try and spread that word. We've talked about Project Pit Lane. Who could you collaborate with to help you through this time? Could you do like an Ann Summers and team up with a chef? Could you? There will be boundless opportunities. I think don't let there be barriers in your head saying, "Oh, I don't think that's possible." I think this is a fantastic time to think anything is possible. I think everyone is more receptive to trying new ideas right now than ever before, from what I'm seeing and from what we're seeing. So I think it's just think outside the box. Try it. You've got nothing to lose right now.
Okay, so that concludes our 10 tips. In terms of follow-up from today, we'll be sending over a link where you can download a PDF of today's slides. The recording of the full webinar will also be on there. And we'll also send over just a little, just a toolkit on Google Trends and some of the other tools and tactics that, we deploy as a growth partner for our clients, and we use to keep abreast of changes in our clients' climates and what's going on in their competitor base. But our top tip for today would be, implement some of those and see how you get on with it, because hopefully it will arm you with a bit more information.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think as we said all the way through the webinar, as we said in the last webinar, we're here to help. And I know both Stacey and I have freed up slots in our diary where we're offering 30-minute calls for people who have really stuck, or they're struggling, or they've got a challenge and they don't know the way out of it. As we said a couple of slides ago, a problem halved is a problem shared. Challenge us. We're happy to help you work through these challenges or these blockages that you've got in your businesses. So feel free to reach out to us. I've opened up 4 hours in my diary each week to help businesses if we can, and believe Stacey's done the same. So you challenge us to see if we can help you. But at the same time, what is going to be your next 90-day plan? What are you going to do differently? How are you going to change your messaging? How are you going to be more compassionate towards the customers in this challenging situation that we're all in? I think the people that do that, and as we said in the last webinar, the people that do that well, continue to market, continue to get the brand out there, build loyalty during this time, build awareness of the brand this time, will come out of this period stronger than if we just all turn the lights off. So I think our real message to you is, think outside the box, think of some new ideas, build a plan, get under the data, know it's working, know it's driving you profitable sales, and and we'll get through this. I
Yeah,
just know we will.
absolutely. So thanks everyone that's joined today. Thank you for your time. If you've got any questions, then our details are on the slide here. You can also get in touch via our social channels or through our chat@infinitynation.com email address on the website. So we hope to speak to you soon, whether that's in a one-to-one or through some more content, because we'll be busily developing some more content and hoping to bring that to you very, very soon. Thank you very much for listening.